you could talk about
Yep.
what's going to happen in the program, and then this will go out to YouTube and LinkedIn
Hmm.
and where else? Facebook, and then also
Nice.
we'll record, some little clips, and then we can and I can share those with you, and we can put those out, kind of trickle those out over the coming days. But
I love that you're so into marketing and promotion. So great. I mean,
you have to, when you're running a little mom and pop shop, you gotta do everything.
yes, yes. But you actually know how to do all of these little things, so that's quite impressive.
Well, the AI is really helpful, like,
Teach me
yeah,
how to do this. Take over, Overlord.
yeah, yeah. No, help me pick, compare these things side by side, or like with this little graphic, it was like, hey, here's our brand, here's our logo and our graphic and kind of our aesthetic, and then it built this little motion graphic for us, which was really nice.
What? Look at that. That's actually good that to hear that you're using it for some good. For like, I consult a lot of like a long. In a previous life, I was a consultant for a small business, family business oriented, and this is 2004. So it's like this is why you need to have an email account. That was my training, right? So now that you have all of this at your fingertip, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's wild for small businesses. People doing everything. It can be really helpful. Um, so yeah, let's. Where do you want to start here?
Well, let me just ask you the format. What is the vision that you have for this project? Is a conversatory? Is friends having a beer? Is like a more professional thing? Like how do you want this? Is literally your stream, but it's just a basic of the boys. What is the boys that you think we're gonna be going for?
No, we're just talking. Yeah, it's gonna be like, and I think we're live now, so we're just
Oh, we're
chatting now.
already chatting now. Great
Yeah,
to
yeah.
know. Okay,
And
so
nobody's with us, nobody's
perfect. So
watching,
it's just the two of. I'm so happy
but
to be on one of the first one on this boat on this new adventure with my
yes.
Captain Monroe. That's great.
Exactly. And we could take turns being captain. That's a little more my style. But this is just a way to kind of get the word out, and then it'll record it and then automatically make some little clips for us. So
Oh, great. Well, I
uh,
guess let's start with the beginning, the basic thing, right? What I'm promoting now, what I'm talking about is the Décimo Coloquio Internacional de Estudios sobre Juegos de Rol, or the 10th edition of an international colloquium of people that love playing, researching, and investigating and exploring the worlds of role playing games. So in this event that starts tomorrow, the 29th, we're going to have 3 days. And as you can see here, we have a poster and we have all of our keynotes, which are going to be presenting and talking about. There's a lot of organization behind the scenes. Uh, but the main idea is just to be transdisciplinary and give a space to all of the voices. So, and by that, we mean everything. Like, you don't need to be you don't even need to have a BA. You can be just a kid playing on a comic book store. And if you're a practitioner of the game, we want to hear from you. And but also on the other hand, we're bringing high advanced PhD researchers whose entire life had been about investigating questions like what is a game, right? So in the first day, we start with like the first event that we have in the agenda is just a roundtable of the committee of reviewers that we're going to be talking about how hard it is to review 27 submissions from 13 countries that are in different languages. So what you have to do when you receive a work that is in Nahuatl, right? So is how can we be even fair to these native people to be reviewing something that we may not understand because we don't have the context of the language, or we cannot say no because of that context. So, what are the things that we need to do to be open and inclusive? Because we say we're open and inclusive to everything, right? So now we cannot say, oh, wait, guess what? We didn't mean that. So, there's a lot of behind the scenes things that if you want to be planning an event that is like that, well, you better have access to a translator, AI, Google technologies, whatever it is that you need to do to deliver the promise of we have open doors, right? And then just taking into best practices of like why it's good to remove the name of the people from the paper to remove biases, right? So thanks to that, we have an uptake on the words from females being accepted into the colloquium, right? Which is just based on research. When you are trying to
Wow.
hire someone and you don't see who's that someone, your bias is removed and you may just focus now on the text. Is this text, is the idea good enough? So we're going to start by having that conversation, and then the result is we have a lot of identities. Not only it's not only male and female. Now all of a sudden there's unexpectedly and but obviously a lot of identities that are coming to be presented and represented to have a voice, right? So and then also goes against the class, right, which is not only a PhD versus a student, but also narrators, facilitators, and dungeon masters versus players. There's also a hierarchical structure that we're trying to say, like, well, do we need that, right? We're all playing the same game, we're all at the table. So, can we bring the voices of, for example, community, like, there's communities of practice, and there's people organizing those communities, and some of them they're not dungeon masters, they're not players, they're just a person that owns a store where this magnificent game happens, and he's been asked, "Oh, can you keep the canon? Can you do the drawings? Can you do a map?" And he's like, "What are you talking? I don't know what you're talking about. I sell comics, right?" And but he has to be brought because he's his store. And then he created a blog, a podcast about that, right? So we have a lot of
Mm,
stories of what it is that it takes to create a podcast about role-playing games in a community in the middle of nowhere and basically not die trying, right? So those are the type of conversations that we're going to have. But also, it wouldn't be a colloquium if we don't have keynote speakers. So the first day we open the door with a big band. We're going to invite Sarah Lynn Bowman and Kijil Hedgar. They're going to be coming to present one research that they're doing, which is an exploration of the intersection between research, consciousness, spirituality, and role playing games, right? Which I know it's a lot, but I love them. This is a great topic, and
oh yeah.
is literally intersectionality meets RPG and consciousness, right? I'm like, yes, I want to hear about that. For the people that don't know, they're like international researchers, well known for a couple of books on psychology that are basically giving us the foundations of what are the different types of characters or roles or modes that you use while playing a game, right? And a lot of people have used Sarah's Limboman research because it's been foundational for us to start explaining when I play, can I be myself, or I want to be an augmented me, or I want to be against me? And
Yeah.
if you keep playing the game, eventually you're going to be all of them, right? Like you're always playing the fighter, and eventually maybe you get tired of the fighter, or maybe the DM is like, you know what, you cannot play a fighter. Why don't you try a wizard? And you may discover that against your own belief, you may be good for playing wizards, right? So it's that type of thing, and she has a lot of research around that area. They come from Sweden, from Uppsala University, and we're just gonna like start this conversation about that. Then they're followed by Evan Turner, which is also another really established researcher in the
Yes.
area. Both of them are also editors in chief of their own respective journals, Analog Games and International Journal of Role Playing Games. And Evan Turner, I've been bumping to him into a lot of different events. I was really happy when he asked to come because I'm like, hey, we never talk about how hard it is to publish. There's no conversation about, do you want to publish whatever, a book, a journal, a magazine, a fanzine? Do you know how hard it is to publish this? Because we have a really narrow synoptic view of whatever it is. Everybody, because we cannot define what is role playing and we cannot define what is game. How do you even go about thinking about how to study game? Like not even role playing games, right? Like we cannot define game, and we have spent thousands of years, and the definition is elusive, it's changing, it's a
Right.
sport, it's a hobby, it's a confrontation, it's not a game if they paying you. No, wait, yes, it can be professional. And what are the Olympic Games? And what is chess?
Mm,
So it's hard when you have Girl Scout cookies, you know what you're selling. Everybody knows what is the market for, right? But we are all had to have that conversation that is like, hey, Garrett, what is this game that you play? Oh, I play whatever is your name, right? But you're forced to do a definition, and you almost always go with metaphor, right? Like I play D&D, and that is kind of or is like, so it's kind of like hard. So how do you go about to publish on this space
Right.
on an undefined liquid object that nobody knows what it is, right? So he has years of experience doing analog games and also going through a lot of different changes. Their journal now looks amazing. If no one has seen them, I invite them to go to see the new editions. They're beautiful. It's a really great job that they're doing. And then, well, because the first day we're just gonna have a break for to launch because we also want the people to network. Like there are some people that are going to be coming here, but we did find that another issue for international colloquium, which is this event is just it has been held in the 9 times in Mexico, Latin America, Argentina, etc. Right? This is the first time that it's been held on the States, so we foreseen a lot of issues with visas, travel, people actually coming here, so we decided to go to an online hybrid mode. But to our surprise, we do have people that are coming here. We already have like 5 countries that are here. We have people that are going to be here. So we want to network with them. Then after that, we go to Antonio Casado da Rocha. He's coming from El País Vasco. He's going to be presenting in Spanish opponents that is about role-playing games and intercultural investigation for interdisciplinary purposes. And this is where the conversation switch, right? How do you hold a virtual event when the keynote speaker speaks Spanish?
Right.
So we need to put subtitles, right? So everybody's going to be able to join and register into a Zoom, and the Zoom is going to be automatically doing the translation, simultaneous translation to whatever language you want to pick. Because 2 months ago we find out we have French, we have Spanish, we have Catalan, we have Portuguese, we have Nahuatl, and English. So there's no way for us to do that. So we say to the keynote speakers and to everyone that is gonna be coming here, you pick your language, whatever it is that you wanna present on, wherever you feel comfortable, and it will be my problem on how to solve the simultaneous translation, right? And just because we're also doing this for free, we really don't have the money to like have like, for example, I wanted to have sign language, but it's expensive to have sign language, right? To be more inclusive of the people that are participating into this thing. But at least when it comes to the languages, Zoom can help us with the translation so everyone can see it, right? Still, he may be presenting in English. I don't know. It's up to him. It's his decision, and we're just gonna reach consensus on we agree that this is what we're doing, and we're gonna try our best to try to hear and understand each other, right? So, and that's exactly the point of his book. He's going to be presenting about how to approach intercultural differences and language from the perspective of interdisciplinary research, because like me, he's a director of research on his university, and we just happened to collaborate together in the translation of a book from Sarah that was a foundational book on English, and we are like, we need to have this in Spanish, right? So we did a collaboration to do that book. He's also a great presenter that is going to be telling us his adventures on translating a book on tabletop role playing games on interdisciplinary research. So it's a lot of words that again we don't have definition. We have not agree what is even interdisciplinarity means, right? So he's going to be talking about that. Then we finally, after opening with all of those great presentations, we get to the first one, which is let's finally hear people that submitted to this thing, right? Like months and months ago, people submit their papers. That's why we're going to open with the review papers panel. And to the reviewers, we ask them, there's only 3 buckets. You don't want to hear from them, they're not invited. We did have a quality threshold because we only have X number of days, X number of hours. So we knew this is the slots that we have and that's all we can do. But once you read them, there's only going to be 2 questions. You really want to hear from them? If this thing is really good, we're going to invite them to present for 15 minutes. This is the first group that is talking about body, identity, and archetypes in the role playing experience. all of them have different presentations about that, right? So we have students, we have researchers, we have actors, we have people that play with kids. Like Astrid has a community of K6 to K12 kids, and she's doing therapeutic IRB approved research with them. It's amazing, right? So we want to hear from them. So they're going to be presenting 15 minutes their research and their ideas about that. Agustin is presenting. She just have a really easy question. What is a thief? So let's talk about the thief and why the thief. Did you know that the thief didn't exist on the original D&D? And and it's the only one that is like a negative connotation. So let's talk about that, right? Carlos Uncal is going to be doing works on Borges and magical realism, etc. Then we move to our first round table. So the round table is different from the session. Is when you hear the abstract to the reviewers, we ask them, do you want to hear 15 minutes of them? No. Are there good enough for you to ask them questions? Yes. Okay, let's make a round table. So we're going to be bringing all of the people that have certain topics in common, and we're going to have a moderator that really wants to ask them, like, how you get to that? Why are you studying that? Why are you doing that? What do you mean communities of practice? Like, we have a couple of people that are playing role playing games with uh, different groups, like incarcerated groups, people at risk, youth, etc. So we want to
Right.
ask them, like, what are you doing to play there, right? Like, do you go to a jail? Like, what it is to be
Yeah.
doing tabletop role playing games in those settings, right? So we group them together. The first round table is about pedagogy, inclusion, and learning with role playing games. So they're going to have a moderator, and all of these people also come from different parts of the world. They don't know each other, and we're just going to have a wonderful conversation about that for around 45 minutes. And with that, we close our uh, day one with a ludic activity, which is the next slide. So a ludic activity was important for us. It wouldn't be a colloquium about role playing games if we don't play, right? So
Yeah.
we
Of
have to
course.
close a day playing Consensus. This is a game that is a GM-less TRPG that Antonio Roda Martinez created, and we're just gonna be basically play testing his game. This is actually an old game, so he's gonna be playing with us and teaching us how to do that. And we're gonna have like a good, like, at the end of the day, let's just come together to play with researchers from around the world. So you see, every day is gonna have that same structure: a keynote, a session, a round table, and something that is cultural on the activity. On the day two, we basically follow the same format. We start with Brian Lane in the next activity. Yeah, sorry, is the next one. The day two is Patrick Morgan and Brian Lane. They're going to be they're PI and co-PI on a 1.3 million, if I'm not wrong, research from NSF.
Yes. Yes.
That is the game demonstration of Adventures with Emmy. So the Adventures with Emmy is a research project that they're basically building a the tabletop role playing game, which is amazing. And they're gonna come to play with us and teach us how to be a mathematician, how to be a physicist, how to be a chemist, and do STEM science to save the world, which is something that I particularly
Yeah.
love. And then we move to Robert Coons, which is going to be presenting Then and Now on D&D. And this is literally, he was at the original table at the beginning of time when Dungeons and Dragons first existed. He's
Right.
one of the few living members of that group, and he agreed to come and present on his ideas of what it is that is now the game that he helped babysit, create, and nurture when it was just a seed, right? Uh, so we're really happy that he's also going to be coming to present. Then we go to our sessions, and again, we're going to skip this one. The first one is about design systems and interface, ludic interfaces. The session three is about archiving, persistence, methodology, and what is the praxis of role-playing game. Um, then we're going to have another pause for break and network. And then in the afternoon, this is one that I particularly like a lot. This group is talking about memory, territory, decolonialism, and political culture, and they're some of the most hardcore themes that I hear. So this is one of those that is like quite interesting to be.
Where are these folks from?
So Marcos Capobianco is from Argentina. Carolina Ugarte and Lautaro Alamos, if I'm not wrong, they're from Chile. Then we have Julian Marcone, he's living in Germany, and we have Colombia, and we have a bunch of people from Argentina and Mexico.
Oh, incredible to see this international community.
Yeah,
that you,
every single one of them is, you're gonna see in the first one our map of like where people is coming. It's crazy.
yeah. I
Uh,
know it's and it's I love this sort of thing because you get to know everybody. You know, it's not just about the topics; it's about the individuals and the community, like their stories over
correct.
time of how they got in here,
Yeah.
and kind of the narrative of their inquiry over time and how it's evolving and how the field is developing. So I love about this sort of stuff. I don't mean to interject,
No,
but
no, no. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can it's so evident from
It is. Yeah. It's something that all of a sudden you start seeing in the voices, right? Like the topics, like why you're talking about memories, right? And so there are a lot of things that we're like super happy that are coming together. Well, now that I'm actually seeing it, I'm like, oh, this is actually happening.
yeah.
Um,
No, it's remarkable.
yep. So then we go to Carlos Uncal. He's gonna be talking about Jorge Luis Borges. The cultural activity is actually a play. We're gonna have a theater play that is kind of like a role play interview with the ghost of Jorge Luis Borges that created labyrinths and connections and influenced magical realism. And this actor, Carlos, has this production that he has traveled around the world with the show, and he's a really famous cultural promoter in Argentina that has spent a lot of times in theater. And I would say in the last 6 maybe to 7 years, if I'm not wrong, he discovered role playing games and he's like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed to bring everything together, right? So he's mixing improvisation with RPG, with theater, and we're going to invite everyone to come to one of our theaters in NJT to ask whatever question you want to ask of the master, of the creator, or the inspirer of magical realism, right? And that's how we're going to close our cultural activity for day 2. Then we move to day 3, in which we're gonna again just go with the basic, and now we're gonna start with. It was really important for us to also explore the different ontologies around tabletop role playing games, and particularly identify that one ontology that is oftentimes not to discuss is the object ontology. So we're gonna have books, we're gonna have character sheets, and we're gonna explore miniatures, and we're gonna explore the role playing games from the material objects. And we're going to have here things that are coming from Spain, that are coming from Argentina, for you to see indie games that you have never seen. And literally, the book is going to be there so you can see it with the cards, like how they're doing the games. We have some materials that are amazing, like cards that have like some designs that are like really, really beautiful. Some artisanal dies. We're going to just have all of the objects, miniatures, and we're going to have it there. We recently come with this idea. We're going to create a shared space where we're going to ask everyone that is going to participate on the colloquium to send us a character sheet of them. And we're going to make a portfolio of all of the character sheets of everyone that is here to show this cosmos of people that are
Yeah.
coming here. So we can discuss them, right? And if it has like, I don't know, like Coke, coffee, scratches is welcome. We want to see that. We want to see the scars of the battle of the character sheet. And I mean, if you have a really pretty character sheet, you can also send it, right? But we want to see the actual character sheet that you play with, right? So we're going to be having that quick activity just to start the day. Before we go with Jose Sagal, which like a lot of the other keynote speakers that we have here, they don't need introduction. Jose Sagal literally wrote the book on definitions of role-playing game, but he's also been an amazing researcher for the Latin American scene, and he's going to be presenting us role-playing games in Latin America from the Chilean case. He basically went and find out the first dissertation, the first PhD in his country ever, and it's like how you managed to get a PhD on tabletop role playing games in the 90s, right? So is that type of research trying to bring back the people that actually have done this work before that may be a little bit lost now. So he's doing this project, which is super interesting. And then we have our very own Garrett Monroe, everybody, woo! And I'm gonna let you know what you're gonna be talking about that day. So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to speak to it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is
Yeah.
this
No.
course arc RPG?
Yeah, this is a fun one, and this is a paper I submitted to the Open Access Journal,
Hmm. Hmm. Yep,
JRPG
yep. Our
Steam.
own journal, yeah, our own journal system, yeah.
And so this is something I've been working on for the last year, and it's a kind of taxonomy of different types of applied TTRPGs. And so I'm really interested in the
What?
yeah. I'm really interested in, how do we bring more tabletop role playing games into learning spaces like classrooms, after school programs, libraries, of course, as you know, with our Adventures in the Stacks projects right now. And so it was Roll for Learning, and Zamboni and Farber and that group's amazing collection of applied micro TTRPGs
Hmm. Hmm.
that got me really thinking about the wonderful breadth of the great diversity of different types of TTRPGs. When we wrote our book, Marianne Colney and I wrote our book for Adventures in Teaching and Learning with TTRPGs. A lot of the thinking was on kind of role play game inspired learning activities and those more traditional rules heavy games that I grew up playing. I know you grew up playing, like a campaign,
Yeah, yeah,
oftentimes kind of inspired by Dungeons and Dragons and
yeah.
wargaming. And so it takes place over time. You invest in a character. But those sorts of systems are can be challenging to roll out in a traditional class,
Yeah.
especially in America, especially in many places.
Hmm.
And so what we look at are what works in different classroom environments. What are the pros and cons of these different systems? And what I suggest is this format called the course arc RPG, which I've tinkered with a bit in my own instruction and teaching my own courses over the years. And it's basically a mix of some of the better aspects of a rules heavy system, which include persistent collaborative narrative over
Hmm.
time
Hmm.
and persistent character creation over time,
Yes. Yeah,
which you don't get in a micro TTRPG. You
yeah.
simply don't get that really rich
Yeah,
space
not
of,
even in a one shot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's fun, it's interesting. You get an applied, students have agency. They're doing applied active learning and interactive work and collaborative work, but they're not doing that deep identity work that can really lead to transformational
Yeah,
thinking and
yeah, yeah.
and epiphanies and so forth over time. And they're not building this really profound shared experience of building a world and shaping a narrative over time. And so I suggest this new taxonomy. I don't say maybe it's not a new taxonomy, but I'm putting language to it, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to map out a territory a little bit. And so I'll present that taxonomy, the four quadrants, and talk about course arc RPG, and then it's sort of a footnote in this presentation, but I'll talk about assessment and evaluation. And
Yes,
yeah,
which
so
actually that's why. Well, for those that don't know, I recently came to know Garrett not too long ago, and it was because, and it's not because he's here, it's because I read his book and it totally blew my mind. The attention to detail that the product have, the care, but also the love that only someone that is an educator can give to this thing. So I'm like, yep, this is my tribe, this is my people. I want to reach to them, and we just try to kind of like bounce into each other. Like were seeking for introductions, and we finally get to connect. And short story long, long story short, now we're working together in a new book because we just connected each other. But it's not only important for the work that you're doing with like this rescuing and redefining the sacred space that is the library or the place where learning and knowledge can happen for kids, but also for everyone, right? So is this idea that really brought my attention about like the connection between learning and playing, and how it's like that brackish water in between a river and an ocean of possibilities. And it's really hard to really explore that, not only because of the lack of definitions, but also, well, what is learning, right? Like there's such big things. I think the work that you and your group in Table 2 ADU are doing was amazing, and that's why inspired us to invite you to be a keynote speaker, and we're really happy that you accepted.
well, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. And, a lot of the work we're doing with Tabletop EDU is community development. It's just like, how do we get the word out? How do we get people, bring more people in and join the Discord and
Yeah,
participate? We want it to be, back and forth. And we want it like, there's so many educators out there who are
mhm,
just excited about this idea.
yeah,
And we want to help them move from excitement to
action.
application. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yes,
so
yes,
the other thing is, a lot of people love this idea. Maybe they've played it, maybe they've heard of it, but they're intimidated to run
Hmm.
And I get that it's its
Yeah,
own literacy and skill set to
correct,
facilitate a
correct.
role play game table. And so that's why we created the Discord space, which was originally about let's do a lot of play for educators. Let's
Hmm.
invite people to play together and then
Hmm.
thereby learn.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to do that more and more. And so I'm running sessions in there so they can pick up how to play in
Oh
the
my
Discord.
gosh, I didn't know that was also good. I'm not too good with Discord because I don't have too much time for the community part and also play and whatever, right? But yeah, I need to go and check it up to maybe see if I can uh, catch a game or even like master a game, like continue.
Yes. Oh, that'd be incredible. I'd love to participate in a game or have you join one of our games.
So then we go. There was a special one because we have the keynote speaker here, so that's great for everyone that will see this. Then we move to the number five, which this one is hermeneutic, aesthetic, and identity of refiguration, because all of these are philosophers and hardcore philosophers. Miguel is from Mexico, and he's a philosopher, physicist, and he's been in the um, international red of role playing games in Mexico for really long time. And him, Ismael, and Fernando are also like bringing really important topics. Dario is also really interesting. The approach that they have of what is aesthetic, what is beauty, what is art in the term of can you tell a story and say that it's beauty, and if it is, then how does change your identity, right? So they're going like really deep into some of the concepts, which I love because
Oh, I have to say I'm a huge fan of it. Have you read this one or are you familiar with this one?
I,
Games.
I'm familiar. I don't. I It's kind of like on my list to read.
Oh, it's so good. And I would just there's just even if you just read a chapter or two,
Hmm.
he's a philosopher, Sethai Nguyen,
Hmm.
and he talks about the aesthetics of games in
Yep.
particular. And his
Yeah.
model is really about aesthetic for games. Aesthetics are agency.
Yep.
It's
Uh,
all about making choices together.
I'm reading his first work, which is the philosophy of games,
Yeah.
and it's mind blowing how uh, similar and close to role playing games his concepts are. But it is not an easy book, right? Because it's philosophy, so it's
Yes.
ontology, it's hermeneutics, it's aesthetics. But if you're interested, he is an amazing author for
And just another note, just another Easter egg or another wild goose chase, if you will. He A lot of it goes back to Dewey.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The connection to do is so well because we're also for people that don't know, we're also working a lot in Dewey for the project in the stack. Which we also like. What is project in the stack? Why don't you tell us that? That's a great segue, but we're gonna get it in 1 second. So anyway, we finished with the food, and then we go to the next one, which is one that I think you're gonna like, which is this is educative applications and how to train and how to create communities of practice around public communication with tabletop role playing games, right? So there's a lot of psychologists and uh, organizational development and human resources trainers that are coming to have this one, in which basically they're exploring the possibility of can we have RPGs in my group of CEOs? Can we use it for conflict resolution in units like sales versus marketing, right? So there's a lot of really interesting conversations that are having here. And we even have like a Scrum application of like, can you learn Scrum in project management with? So it's like there's so many things that are like really interesting in this session with our people here. And then we close the presentations with how to be a facilitator of the game, how to train people, and how to develop competencies and skill for collaborative learning. And this group of researchers are coming from Spain and also from Europe, and they're bringing a lot of really different approaches into in United States. We basically have the 21st century skill, which is a framework that helps us
Right.
blah 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 blah. But not all of the countries have that, right?
Yeah.
And even what is a STEM or a STEAM is debated, right? Like, do you need the A for the art, or is math an art? There's a lot of things that are there to be considered, and they're going to be talking about that. There's also a lot of really interesting things that are coming from Spain on this group. And then we close our day with the last roundtable, number C, letter C, which is about theory, language design, and how to archive the stories of role playing game. And we have a lot of people talking about this because this was a really popular topic this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Everybody was somehow saying like, what is the theory, what is the language, how you create a game, right? And we are going to have them all together, and that's how we're going to close the day. After that, we're just going to be closing the day and go and have like a party, and that's it.
Yeah. Ah, I wish I could be there in person. It sounds like you
Oh,
guys are gonna have.
you're missing it. We already have we have a hall in the university, Maple Hall, where we have, it's our little uh, tower of anything TTRPG related. And ever since the first researcher came this Friday, so over the weekend it's just impossible not to see someone from another country and say, "Hey, do you have some die? Let's create some character and start playing," because that's just what we have to do.
Yes.
So endless conversations about like their books, their games, their design, and it's just really interesting because you're like, wait, you're doing what? And then you just discover those type of things. And we today we have other two researchers that come. One of them that is really young is 21 years old, I believe, and he is basically becoming like a point of referential influence in communities, but he's just coordinating communities around communities. So his dream was to coordinate the perfect calendar for TTRPGs so they can do crossovers, right? So it's there's a lot of things that I'm like, where are you doing what? So, and because they have more technology and whatever, right? For them the game is different. For them the game is more distributed, right? So there's a lot of really interesting things that we're going to be hearing, and yeah, I'm excited. So
No, it's extremely exciting and also extremely cool that it's open and anybody can join and it's free.
yeah,
So, and big credit to your group and all the work you got. Yeah, this is a ton of work to put this together, like an enormous amount of work. So,
yeah,
thank you, and
yeah, you're welcome.
I'm very excited to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
Um, Excellent. Well, let's and it's tomorrow, right?
It's
We're
tomorrow.
starting
Yeah,
tomorrow.
we start
Yeah.
tomorrow. We go out of the gate, and also we have a digital agenda on the digital commons because again, how do we bring all of this community from 13 countries? We don't, not all of them can be here, right? So we try as many channels as possible, right? So we have YouTube, we have Discord, we have WhatsApp, we have two coordinators for three different communities because I didn't even knew Telegram was that big on role playing games, and it's huge in Latin America.
Ah,
So uh, we're coordinating, and also because like some of the people that are coming here have their own podcasts and their own communities, right? So they can help us coordinate that. We're gonna have like the World Cup fan fest transmission when people are getting together in a classroom to see the thing and discuss what we've been talking here. So there's a lot of other activities that are going on around in Argentina, Colombia, and Chile, and Mexico that are kind of like side events of this same event. But we are happy to open the doors from NJT, and it's just literally if you want to come to NJT CKB 116, just walk into a world of researchers talking about this, and enjoy some games, enjoy to see this amazing diverse geek nerd queer unicorns and dragons community that is the one that we're putting together.
all inclusive. Yeah,
Yeah,
dragons. Whoever. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody. That's what makes it so beautiful
yeah.
and so welcoming. Not just as a place to play, but a place to do research
Hmm,
and a
hmm.
place to work too. And these things kind of blend, and that's the. That's my hope too. Is that students and adults, right? This is like the meta quest for me. Is it's not just about more TTRPGs equals a better world, and I think could be really transformative for a lot of young people
Hmm.
who out there are really disenchanted with
Yeah,
school
yeah, yeah,
and institutions
yeah,
and like modern society. It's like, is this really what it's like, is this really what has been
yeah,
presented to us? And TTRPGs offer such a beautiful interactive malleable, community driven space to just be expressive,
Yeah,
be
yeah.
yourself, explore things, and not just for kids, but for adults too. It's like
Hmm.
this is the great thing. Another great bit of work, of cultural work,
Hmm.
is destigmatizing play
Yeah,
in the workplace and
yeah,
for adults.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like yes, and so I see a lot of that topic creeps up again and
Yeah,
again.
the amount of conversation that I recently have around the with a lot of, like, to go to educators, right? A lot of teachers that are starting to play with the game. They're like, I felt so disconnected from the young students because I just couldn't teach them when all of their faces are in their laptops or in their cell phones, and I cannot connect to them, and I don't start to get the references. I'm talking about the Simpsons, and they don't get it, right? And this is people that are in the 30s and 40s. So I'm like, what? I'm close to 50. I'm like, wait, you are disconnected? You're 50 years. What are you talking about, right? And one of the recurring themes that I hear in this conversation is, but when I start playing, it's magic.
Yeah.
They're here. All of a sudden, they recover the enchantment. I have another conversation with one of the researchers from Europe, and he said, there was a moment in which we killed fantasy because fantasy was not the good thing to talk about, and now
Mm,
there's this resurgence of fantasy, and now it's okay to kill about fantasy, but now we're disenchanted because the world is so cynical.
yeah.
So we have the most access to all of the books that you can ever imagine about fantasy, yet we are disenchanted.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
and for him, the connection to go back to Neverland, to fantasy, to get this never-ending story was the RPG experience. He does more like LARPing, but is because they need the cultural references. So I'm not forcing them to read; they want to read because
Right.
they want to discover why this makes sense. They want to discover why every time I scream at Treyu, I cry. So it's like, oh, like, oh, so good. And those are the type of things that I'm like, well, if we can help a little bit facilitate people understanding that everyone can do a study
Mm.
on this thing that you're passionate about, and that it's okay to ask questions to understand this field. And I do think we're in a really interesting moment when it comes to this new era of the RPGs, because things that were in the 80s are informing the media now, but now we're creating the things that are going to informing the 30s, the 40s. We're creating this new space that in my times we never have live stream. We never have a camera that will have access to how people play,
Right.
how their cultures, how their tribes, how their rituals. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I do that.
Yeah.
I laugh like that. I wait, I can play like that. And then the I became we, and it's just a co-creation, right? And then it's like, oh, we can come to the table. And it's this really weird language that we have. It doesn't matter where you're from. Once you say roll for initiative, you're like, oh, okay, we're serious. Okay, let's bring it
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
there's certain common language there on the game.
Yeah. That first roll, the first roll of the game is
Yeah,
just a great moment, universally a great moment. Or when you hit the top number on a die, when you hit the
correct.
20 or a
Or
6,
the
it's
10,
like
whatever it is, yeah.
such a delight.
But even the funny things, right? I recently was seeing people roll the die, and if the die fell off the table,
Yeah.
it was like a big deal. It's like, no, that's sacrilegious. I'm like, wait, what happened? So those little rituals that we have,
Right.
because also we play in small groups, right? And so we create bonds, we create relationship, we create friendship that changes forever. And like we remember, oh, the first time that we fought, whatever, right? So,
It's so intimate, playing TTRPGs is it's such a power, like this is something else sociologically speaking. I think there's no other place quite like it in modern society where people get together for hours at a time, face to face, gathered around. Like there's literally like unless you're doing like a holiday dinner, right?
mhm,
Christmas dinner or things. People just don't get together like
yeah,
that
no,
for such an extended period of time and have an intense conversation.
yeah,
It just
yeah, yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
recently, because of the project with the stack, I've been play testing a lot one adventure that I'm designing for your book, and I've been playing with anyone that wants to play that have a kid, right? Because it's like my target demographic is kids and then librarians, right? But Uh, we play a little bit with a family, and the father had played games that the kids had not, and they just discovered a new world. They're like, wait, we can spend, and they were saying this, we can spend time with dad,
Right.
and he's playing and
Yeah.
he's having fun. And I was like, I didn't know that didn't happen with you. And all of it, it was just such an emotional, personal thing that I'm like, well, great. Let's keep killing goblins and go and see if we
Yeah.
can rescue the prince, right?
Yeah.
We changed the thing, like the prince needed to be rescued by the unicorns. And
Well, it's, I mean, and that's the magic circle of play, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It gives adults, or, in particular, it gives men, a
yeah.
certain type of man, or, who has a kind of narrow sense of
Yeah,
how to
the
be
Swiss idea.
expressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And for a lot of people, it's sports. Like, for a lot of men, it's like, that's the place
yeah,
where I get to have fun, and that's how I bonded with,
yeah,
like, my dad or
yeah,
something, or my
yeah,
brothers, was
yeah,
the play of sports.
yeah,
But the new generation, this stuff is sort of gaming, and alternatives, kind of gamer spaces have kind of grown, and now they've hit a critical mass, I think, where
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
uh,
It's more in the open, and yeah,
and it's so much more accessible too, and
yeah,
it's much more tied to I would argue it's much more tied to academic literacies. Not that we need to justify it,
yeah,
and there's great stuff with sports, and people will say, oh, our schooling system in America invests so much money and energy into sports, the giant sports fields and coaches and programs, and it's like, they say, well, this is good for our students and it keeps our people busy, and it's like, well, let's take a look at what goes on in a tabletop role playing club,
yeah, 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 yeah,
because it's a fraction the cost,
yeah,
it's accessible to anybody. You don't have to be
yeah,
physically able
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
and it's not exclusionary, and guess what, they're doing reading, writing,
Yeah,
speak,
exactly.
so it's like,
All of those
people,
skills, leadership, communication, collaboration, negotiation, are skills that, oh, all of the things that you like about the hardcore sport that your university or college does, you can replicate on a table.
and more and
Yeah,
more,
yeah, yeah,
like, just like entrepreneurship, civic agency, all this stuff. But the biggest difference, I think, besides the accessibility, is the level of literacy involved,
yeah,
like literal academic literacy of
yeah.
reading, writing, speaking, and it's not as physical, of course, and that's,
Yeah,
generally
but
speaking, but
the simulation part is one of the researchers that is going to be presenting has a work about it's a tabletop role playing game about people crossing borders, and it's touching into really deep, dark moments of the story in the last 20 years on Europe, and is using these examples of like, well, what happened with a country open their borders and everybody can come. Well, what happened with the country closed their borders and no one can come, right?
right,
So there's a couple of things that you normally wouldn't associate how hard, deep, politically engaged happen
yeah.
in a table with certain rules, right? So it is wonderful how flexible it is.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's such a great venue for taking on any number of topics. And it's, yeah, there's an aesthetics to it, and
Yeah,
and a politics to it, that
yeah,
it's malleable, and
yeah,
this is why it's like, and I know we're going on. You and I could talk about this stuff all day. So I know you've got plenty to get onto, so I appreciate it. But we should do this more often.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And folks, I dropped a link in the comments so you can register to join us over the next 3 days
yeah. Mhm.
at the 10th International Colloquium on Roleplay Game Studies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thank
Christo,
you very
thank
much.
you so much for joining us and
Yeah,
sharing a little bit and giving us
yeah,
this preview.
yeah, yeah.
And
Thank you for having me.
anytime, anytime. And we'll see you guys at the table.
Yeah, take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.